Welcome to Destination Dive. I'm Jennifer Gray. There are estimated to be around 1,000 shipwrecks in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. Many of these are easily accessed by divers and snorkelers. These wrecks hold such a rich history and stories of their past. While these ships are vessels frozen in time, they offer unique opportunities for life that's thriving beneath the waves. Join us as we take you on an incredible journey through the Florida Keys, uncovering the history and beauty in these wrecks that the locals love to dive.
People call shipwrecks time capsules, and well, they literally are because they represent a day. I mean, a moment in time. The ship sinks on a certain day, and everything in it, on it, and the ship itself is frozen in time on the sea floor.
Less than 5 miles off the shores of Key Largo, resting in just 25 feet of crystal blue water, lies just one of those shipwrecks, the city of Washington. This underwater oasis is located along a stretch of underwater beauty known as Elbow Reef.
It's one of the parts of the reef system that jut out a little bit before it turns to the north towards Miami. And there's a very big collection of really, really beautiful reefs and shallow wrecks.
The city of Washington is a favorite dive spot for Keys residents, not only because of the natural beauty and tremendous ecosystem, but because of the ship's rich history. The ship was mainly a cargo and passenger transport vessel that ran between New York, Cuba, and Mexico in the late 1800s. However, in 1898, the city of Washington was moored very close to the USS Maine the night the Maine exploded, and the start of the Spanish-American War was declared.
When the Maine blew up, the city of Washington was right there. Actually, pieces of the Maine fell onto the city of Washington in the explosion. They used the city of Washington as an immediate emergency hospital. They rescued people from the Maine, took them on to the city of Washington, did preliminary treatment and rescued them, saved lives.
While the city of Washington remains an underwater relic, frozen in time, the life around it has been thriving and growing ever since.
It's covered in coral and tons of fish. It's a really, really beautiful sight, especially on really nice, pretty sunny days. The light coming through, because it's so shallow, just sparkles and makes a lot of really cool light, and then the fish are just everywhere. We've seen hammerheads there, Goliath grouper, eels, green moray eels, nurse sharks come swimming by, and there's just tons and tons of little fish everywhere.
Just south of the city of Washington, you'll find another wreck that's a local favorite, the Benwood.
The Benwood, in my opinion, is kind of an oasis in the middle of a desert of not a lot of coral. There's some nice corals around the area, but it's not really known for its reef structure. It's very low profile. But then you have this wreck sitting in the middle of nowhere. What's nice about that is all the fish kind of come and collect on the wreck. I was out there with my daughter not too long ago, and we literally had 6 turtles swimming around the wreck for the hour that we were there. And they were just hanging out. They would come up to the divers. They would just rest and relax. You can go there on any given day and find some amazing fish life.
We can't leave the Upper Keys without mentioning one of the most historic and iconic wrecks in all of the Florida Keys. The Spiegel Grove is the crown jewel of the Florida Keys and is no surprise why so many advanced divers flock to this dive site. The Spiegel Grove is a 510-foot retired Navy ship that rests on 130 feet of water, 6 miles off the coast of Key Largo. The vessel was sunk in 2002 and was lying on its side until Hurricane Dennis forced the ship upright in 2005. This wreck is a sight to behold, and at the time of its sinking was the largest ship to ever be intentionally sunk as an artificial reef. The Spiegel Grove should be on every advanced diver's bucket list who visits the Florida Keys. As our journey takes us deeper into the Keys, roughly 20 miles south of Key Largo lies the beautiful Isla Mirada. Here you will find more underwater history and favorite wrecks among the locals. The Eagle Wreck is not just a dive site, it's a living chapter in the Florida Keys underwater story, a place where history, marine life, and adventure intersect. Just a short trip off the Islamorada coast in the Upper Keys lies some of the most interesting dive sites in the Keys. The Eagle has been a longtime favorite among the Keys locals for its history and beauty.
The marine life that's there is spectacular. And the Goliath groupers are probably the most popular thing to see there. So they're huge. They're 6-7 feet long, 600-700 pounds. They're massive. We also see schooling jacks, schooling spadefish, horseye jacks, bar jacks.
The Eagle was once a cargo freighter that ultimately caught fire in 1985 and declared a total loss. The Florida Keys Artificial Reef Association stepped in and purchased her for $30,000, along with Joe Tenenbaum, a private citizen who donated another $20,000 to help the Eagle live on.
It is teeming with life. It lies in max depth of 110 feet, so it's not for a brand new diver. It's not a difficult dive, as dives go, in my opinion, but depth does necessitate you having some deeper dive experience. It was put there to attract marine life and also take stress off our coral reef.
This artificial reef has been thriving with life since finding her final home on the sandy ocean floor. With greater depths come little less bottom time, but you will have about 25 minutes to explore this relic, and a great dive to revisit multiple times, exploring a new area of the ship each time. If you are looking for a wreck site that's not quite advanced near Islamorada, check out the San Pedro, just half a mile offshore.
It is one of the older diveable shipwrecks on the wreck track, and it's a fascinating site in that it's a real Spanish galleon that sank in 1733.
The San Pedro was part of a Spanish treasure fleet caught by a hurricane in the Straits of Florida and sank in just 18 feet of water 1 mile south of Indian Key.
The Florida Keys is what's known as a ship trap, right? And that's because you have the reef that runs the entire length of the Keys from all the way out to the Dry Tortugas, 70 miles west of Key West here, all the way up to Miami, basically. And ships would run onto that reef. It's very shallow, lurking right below the sea surface.
The wreckage was discovered in the 1960s and heavily salvaged by treasure hunters, but still draws snorkelers and divers to see the San Pedro's final resting place.
You can still see some of the artifacts. There's a big mound of rocks, which, you know, doesn't sound all that exciting perhaps, but it is, because it's really the bottom of the ship. There are cannons on the site as well as an anchor. So you can very much tell, you know, on a dive that this was a Spanish galleon.
The San Pedro may be a bit of an unconventional wreck, one that's not intact and pieces scattered about the seafloor, but it can still send chills down a historian's spine, visiting this underwater site, putting the pieces of her story back together. The cannons are actually concrete reproductions, emulating the original metal ornaments.
It still gives you that sense and gives you that transport back into time just by being there and seeing it. One of the coolest things about diving in the Keys and on the wreck trek is you can see all these periods in time. And so where else in the world are you going to be able to dive or even just snorkel if you don't want to dive on a Spanish galleon, a real Spanish galleon from, 300 years ago? It's right there off Islamorada, just sitting there.
Both Marathon in the Middle Keys and Big Pine Key in the Lower Keys offer world-class diving and some of the richest underwater history. Some of our most favorite wrecks, both in the Middle and Lower Keys, hold historical and recreational significance, making them a don't-miss stop on our wreck trek. Off Marathon, you can see the remnants of concrete and steel debris taken from the center swing span of the old 7-mile bridge, also called the Moser Channel Bridge, that was built in the early 1900s for Henry Flagler's Florida Keys Oversea Railroad. Another popular marathon dive is a Thunderbolt, donated to the Florida Keys Artificial Reef Association by Florida Power and Light Company, which used the vessel in researching electrical energy and lightning strikes. But one of our favorite wrecks in the Middle Keys is without question the Adolphus Busch Sr. It may not be off the beaten path, but it is, without question, one of the premier Florida Keys wrecks, attracting advanced and technical scuba divers. This well-known dive site to both locals and tourists is filled with plenty of sea life and the nooks and crannies to explore.
What I love about the Adolphus Busch Sr. is that it is host to a ton of life on it. It is very common for us to see Goliath groupers, and the Goliath groupers that are on that are usually massive, and they have sort of their own little ecosystems that kind of travel around with them. We've also been privileged over the past couple of years to have schools of hammerheads show up on the Adolphus Busch. And when we see them, they're 10, 12, 13, 15 at a time.
The Adolphus Busch was a short-distance freighter built in 1951. After a successful topwater life and small role in the 1957 film Fire Down Under, divers from the Florida Marine Sanctuary purchased her in 1998, cleaned her up, and was sunk to serve as a local artificial reef. This 210-foot ship rests in roughly 110 feet of water, perfectly intact and upright.
Ships like the Adolphus Busch and other purposefully sunk vessels, that's done with the intent that these things will take pressure off of the natural reef.
From the Adolphus Busch, we go next to the Ivory Wreck. It's a site that represents a chapter of human suffering. The Ivory Wreck was discovered in the 1950s and carries the weight of history with a tainted past.
Those early divers found a lot of elephant's tusks on the ship, probably a dozen or 15 elephant's tusks, and it was dubbed the Ivory Wreck because of that. And certainly having all those elephant's tusks on a shipwreck site would lead to an African connection, West African connection, and a lot of people have supposed that it was a slave ship because of that, which could be. It could be also that it was just a ship that had traded in Africa at some point.
Other shipwreck artifacts salvaged on the Ivory Wreck include silver bars, pewter spoons, coins, metal buttons, a heavy anchor, cannonballs, and musket shots. Divers who explore the remains pay homage to the lives lost and bear witness to this sad time in history. Yet, amidst the haunting artifacts, the vibrant marine life thrives, offering a poignant contrast between a dive site where the past and present converge beneath the sun-kissed waves of the Florida Keys. Key West, the last stop on our wreck trek. Key West is famous for culture and fun that happens on the island, but what lies on the seafloor can be just as interesting. Here, you will find some of the most spectacular underwater ships in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. The Cayman Salvage Master and the Vandenberg are some of the most popular dive sites that have also left their mark in history. The Cayman Salvage Master was used to transport more than 1,400 Cuban refugees during the Mariel boat lift from Cuba to Florida in 1980. This is a huge part of Florida's rich history as the ship used continues to live on under the turquoise waters in the Keys.
150,000 people leave Cuba and come here to the United States on all manner of ships. And so it was a very big historical moment and a huge story in really South Florida history. I believe it was seized by the government for its role. It wasn't a wholly legal operation. And it was tied up at the dock and eventually sank at the dock. And it was pumped out, refloated, and it was decided that it would become an artificial reef and was intended to be towed out to about 300 feet of water off Key West.
The ship broke free from being towed and sank in about 90 feet of water.
So when it sank originally, it sank on its side, and then I think Hurricane Katrina came through and actually turned it upright.
Now, the Cayman Salvage Master is a spectacular dive. This perfectly intact ship is easily accessible, just 7 miles off Key West.
But there's some holes in the top wreck, so you can actually look inside and see the old engine, which is just massive. But the thing that I enjoy the most about the Cayman Salvage Master is the wildlife that we can get on that. It's very common for us to have more wildlife on that than some of the other wrecks. You can actually swim underneath the rudder, which is one of my favorite things to do with it.
But a visit to Key West wouldn't be complete without visiting an underwater gem on the wreck trek, the USS Vandenberg.
The Vandenberg was a former military ship, and it's a behemoth. It's huge, and it's sitting there upright on the seafloor. It is just people love it.
The Vandenberg was used to transport troops during World War II and then converted to a U.S. Air Force missile tracking ship that was used during the Cold War and finished out its service tracking Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo spacecraft liftoffs from Cape Canaveral. It also saw cinema duty as a Russian science ship, Virus, a 1999 release starring Jamie Lee Curtis, William Baldwin, and Donald Sutherland. The Vandenberg is the second largest intentionally sunk artificial reef in the world. It is home to an abundance of marine life.
The Vandenberg was sunk by divers for divers, which makes it a unique diving experience as they've cleaned out a lot of the hazards that you'd normally associate with wreck diving, leaving a lot of swim-throughs available for advanced divers. Most dives on the Vandenberg, I usually see Goliath grouper. I see a lot of schooling fish, especially in the wintertime. You get a lot of the bait balls coming around the wreck, which makes for the safety stops to be interesting.
The Vandenberg is one of the more recent ships to be sunk in the Florida Keys and therefore is very much intact. The Keys' crystal clear water allows divers to see much of the 522-foot vessel. The sights are breathtaking.
I mean, it is this really big spectacle. And so, you dive down and, it's just gorgeous. And it's out there past the reef in what is generally pretty clear water.
The Vandenberg is just one of the many wrecks worth visiting in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, where world-class diving and rich history intersect.
Every one of these ships reflects its time, reflects its purpose, and really tells a story from the past. And so whether it is a Spanish galleon that was carrying treasure, whether it was a slave ship that was bringing people for the darkest purposes possible across the ocean, or whether it was just carrying phosphate in the middle of the night. These ships all tell some aspect of their time.
With so much to see and learn from these wrecks in the Keys, there is something for everyone and something to meet every diver's skill level. I hope you will join us someday in the warm water of the Florida Keys and dive some of these timeless treasures with so much history. I'm Jennifer Gray. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Destination Dive.